Hi, welcome back to Movie Digest. In this video I'm going to explain the 2018 action thriller movie, titled The Commuter. Spoilers ahead. As the movie begins, we see Michael McCauley waking up. He goes through the same daily routine and spends some time with his wife Karen, and his son Danny. He helps Danny with some assignments and supports him to get into his dream college. Michael and Karen head to work, and Karen gives him a lift. They talk about Danny's tuition, and Michael finds it expensive, but Karen is sure they can figure it out. She drops Michael at the train station. Michael commutes by train to his work every day, and frequently engages with regular commuters like Walt. Michael is an insurance salesman who is very good at his job. However, that afternoon, his boss called to inform him that he was being laid off, even after working for them for over 10 years. Michael tries to argue that he has no money, 2 mortgages, and a son who is going to college. The boss says that the decision isn't his as it comes from above, and Michael is left with no option, so he leaves the building. He gets a call from Karen, but he couldn't tell her he got fired. Michael ends up at a bar where he meets his friend, Officer Alex Murphy, who used to be Michael's partner as a detective. He tells Murphy that he didn't inform Karen that he got fired. As they talk, they see a news story about a city planner who supposedly jumped to his death. Michael then sees his former colleague Dave Hawthorne walking into the bar. Michael doesn't like him and is surprised to learn he is now captain. Hawthorne comes over and talks to Michael for a brief moment. Murphy suggests he must tell Karen that he lost his job. Michael agrees and quickly leaves as he getting late for his train. As he got to the station, it was so crowded and the police were searching passengers' bags. Michael notices a man acting suspiciously and accidentally bumps into another man. Michael boards the train but soon learns his phone got stolen. He tried to go after that man, but the doors were closed. Michael then runs into Walt, who says a woman is looking at him, but Michael can only see her heels. He later sits down and is joined by that woman, Joanna. She strikes up a conversation, where she tells him that she studies human behavior. Joanna then offers him a task for which there will be a reward. She tells Michael about the package she hid in the bathroom containing $25,000. Michael can have that money if he finds a man who goes by the name Prin. He has a bag with a stolen item inside, and that person will be on the train until Cold Spring. Joanne then promises to pay another $75,000 if he finds the man in the bag. She warns him not to leave the train before finding the bag. Before leaving, she reveals that she knows he is an ex-cop. Michael goes to look in the bathroom and finds the money. When the train reaches the next stop, Michael tries to leave, but a young woman finds him and gives him an envelope, saying it's a warning, as he is being watched. He opens up the envelope to find Karen's wedding ring. Since someone stole his phone, he borrowed the phone from another commuter named Tony. Since there was no signal, he walked through the carriages to find the signal and ran into Walt. Michael borrows his newspaper and leaves a message, telling him to call the police and send them to his house. Meanwhile, a guy in the back is spying on Michael. Later, Michael finds the signal and calls Karen but can't reach her. He then tries to reach out to Murphy and gets the same result but leaves a voicemail. Michael then sees Walt, who hints that he got his message, and gets off. Then a man enters the train with a bag, and Michael suspects him to be Prin. Just then, he receives a call from Joanne, who tells him that he accepted the offer but broke the rules. She then tells Michael to look outside, where he sees Walt trying to cross the street to talk to the police officers, but someone pushes him toward an oncoming bus, killing him. Joanne warns him he made his choice, and now he must find Prin in the bag to save Karen and Danny. Michael finally agrees to do the task and asks what he needs to do after finding that bag. Joanne tells him to check his pockets, and he finds a GPS tracker. She wants him to plant the tracker in the bag, and his job is done. Michael then tries to narrow down the passengers going to Cold Spring using their ticket stubs. Michael suspects a few commuters. He then interacts with those who are acting weird. Michael finds a young girl named Gwen with a bag. When she runs away, he follows her, only to learn she's carrying fake IDs for her boyfriend. Michael then sees a man named Dylan, who is carrying a bag. Michael follows him to the next car. But Dylan suddenly attacks him for following, and when Michael mentions Prin, Dylan gets more suspicious, and they both continue fighting until Michael gives up so he can plant the tracker on the bag. After a while, Michael gets a call from Murphy, and Michael tells him what is happening. When he mentions the name Prin, Murphy reveals that a witness going by the name Prin claims to have seen 2 guys throwing the city planner to his death. Michael soon realizes that someone on the train is trying to kill Prin, and he has blown his cover due to the fight. He comes to the conclusion that Joanne is trying to set him up. Michael then goes looking for Dylan and finds his bag. He finds nothing but clothes in the bag, and suddenly hears a phone ringing. He realizes it's coming from under the floor and checks to find Dylan's body, with a bullet in his head. Michael then finds out that Dylan is an FBI agent and not Prin. Suddenly his phone rings, and Michael picks up, and it's Joanne, who blames him for Dylan's death since he mistook him for Prin. Michael says he is done with her games, but Joanne warns him that he still hasn't finished the job. Michael then hears the conversation between Karen and Danny before Joanne's man approaches them, and that call disconnects. Things get even worse when the police come to check the train after someone reports there is a dangerous individual on the train. Joanne warns him not to leave the train and not get caught. So Michael hides under the floor, next to Dylan's body. But he gets locked up when an inspecting officer steps on the handle. Michael crawls out just as the train is about to move, rolls himself out, and jumps back to the train. However, his bag got stuck, and when he pulled it hard, all the money flew out except for a $100 bill. As the train is getting close to Cold Spring, Michael gets desperate. He damages the air conditioning in every car except the last one, so everyone is made to switch to that last car while Michael is seated and waiting for them. Michael narrows down to 5 commuters for potentially being Prin, as he has never seen them on the train before. He initially suspects a man who is playing cards with Tony, but when Michael finds his monthly pass, he realizes he isn't Prin. Meanwhile, a man carrying a guitar moves to another car. That guy claims to be the Prin, and Michael says they should move to the first car and barricade themselves. However, that guy turns out to be the killer hired by Joanne to kill Prin. He points his gun at Michael and asks who is Prin. Michael tries to grab his gun and shoots the window in the process. Michael gets an upper hand and thrashes that man with his guitar. But that guy fights back and pushes him out of the window. Luckily, Michael managed to throw him out the window into another passing train. He then gets a call from Joanne, letting her know he killed her guy. Joanne then orders him to take the killer's gun, kill Prin himself, and retrieve the bag to save his family. He then suspects a nurse named Eva to be Prin. He grabs her phone, believing she is calling Joanna, and keeps her at gunpoint. Eva is frightened and confesses that she had an argument with her partner and is attempting to fix things up with him. When Michael realizes she is telling the truth, he apologizes. Michael eventually concludes that Prin is not who he initially thought. He remembers a young woman traveling to Cold Spring who changed seats after being seated beside an obnoxious commuter. Michael finds that woman, Sophia. The name Prin comes from the book The Scarlet Letter, which she is currently reading, and it is the name of protagonist Hester Prynne. Meanwhile, 2 FBI agents await Sophia at Cold Spring for her statement. Meanwhile, Joanna calls Michael, and tells him to kill Sophia. When Michael refuses, she threatens to kill his family. Joanne then reveals Sophia has evidence of a conspiracy against many powerful people she works with. Michael still refuses to kill Sophia, so Joanne says everyone will die now. Michael tells the conductor Sam to stop the train, and Sam pulls the brakes, but the brakes fail, killing the engineer. Realizing that the train is set to crash, Michael and Sam try to separate their car from the rest of the train. After an extreme effort, they pull out the knuckle pin and separate it, but it is still stuck because of the chain. Sam and Michael manage to remove the chain from the train, but Sam is still inside when it crashes, and Michael plunges onto the other car, which derails and comes to a halt on the outer limits of a train yard. After everyone has settled down, Michael asks Sophia what the bad guys might be looking for. She then takes out the hard drive with data that Sophia's cousin, the city planner, would have been aware of. Sophia also says that she could not contact the police since the murderers were police officers. So she contacted an FBI agent through one of her friends. The agent told her she isn't safe in the city anymore and she needs to catch the train to Cold Spring so that they could protect her. The police arrive at the scene, and Captain David Hawthorne warns Michael to free everyone, believing he took the commuters hostage. After a while, Murphy arrives and tries to talk to Michael. He asks Murphy about his family's safety, and Murphy assures him that the police are trying their best. He requests Michael to free some of the passengers, but Michael is concerned about their safety. David is listening to their conversation and feels something isn't right. Michael lets out the most number of passengers, and brings Murphy in. He finds few passengers on board. Michael sees that Murphy has an electronic tag and is wired. So he takes out the wire, disconnecting the audio. Michael then tells about the witness on the train who knew about the conspiracy. Murphy then mentions a phrase Joanna mentioned earlier, "There's no such thing as noble," which makes Michael realize that Murphy is involved. Murphy then comes clean and admits that he wanted Michael to have that money, but he ruined everything. Murphy then takes his gun away, threatening that they still have his family. Meanwhile, the snipers monitor Murphy using the thermal scan as they spot him by his electronic tag. Murphy goes looking for Prynne. Sophia reveals herself to save other passengers, but soon, Every other passenger claims to be Prin. Michael and Murphy fight, while the snipers try to get a clear shot of Michael, who manages to take away Murphy's electronic tag, making the sniper believe he is Murphy. The snipers then take a shot, killing Murphy. The FBI agent quickly walks in, and Sophia tells him she is Prin and Michael saved her. The FBI agent tells Michael that they rescued his family after arresting 3 men out of his home. Michael is reunited with Danny and Karen. The other commuters call Michael a hero who saved their life. After that, Michael speaks with Hawthorne, who reveals that Murphy and his potential accomplices are under investigation. Hawthorne also proposes bringing Michael back to the department. Sometime later, Michael is back on the train and finds Joanna. Even though she pretends not to know him, Michael figures she set the whole thing up and played him and Murphy. Michael declares that her schemes don't work now. When she asks him what he will do, Michael just takes out his badge, preparing to arrest her. Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to watch more videos like this.